Hey BookTube, welcome back. I apologize if I sound a little nasally and my throat's a little froggy here, but I am suffering from a very bad cold right now, so since I'm home from work, I thought I'd go ahead and take advantage of the time and film the video I'd promised earlier, which was showing you some of my favorite apocalyptic movies. I love these movies for the effects mostly. Storylines hopefully are good. These are fairly decent, and I just want to go ahead and show you what I've got. So the first up is a movie starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This is San Andreas, the next megaquake. You know, California's waiting for the big one to hit, and it happens here in this movie. General earthquake would last about a minute, where a megaquake can last up to 5 minutes, triggering several earthquakes like a chain reaction. And it can even reignite dormant volcanoes, and everything happens in this one. Buildings falling, you know, craziness. And he's off with his wife trying to rescue their daughter wherever she might be. The fact that he can even find her in this sort of chaos, you know, you have to suspend your disbelief in these situations, but I love the effects for it. There's also a bonus feature which I have yet to watch called Earthquake Storm, where they talk about what a megaquake would be like. So that should be kind of intriguing. Then the next up is one I saw recently called After Earth, starring Will Smith and his son Jaden Smith. Will Smith plays a character named Cypher, and his son plays Kitai, and they crash land on an Earth like 1,000 years after humanity's left due to some cataclysmic event that happened, which they don't really go into detail about. But the Earth they land on is no longer an Earth like here. The predators have kind of evolved to become even more dangerous. But even worse than that is something they accidentally brought with them. Now Cypher gets injured on the crash, and his son has to kind of travel to a distant point where a part of the ship broke off to find a kind of communication device to send for help. And it's a treacherous journey. He has to overcome his fear. He's dealing with a lot. They have a strained relationship between the father and the son. The father is a soldier who's been off, you know, off planet for quite some time, fighting battles, and he's known as a very fearless warrior. You need to be in terms of the creatures that they face. The son had to face something kind of bad when he was younger, and because of his fear, he feels very guilty over that, and also resentful towards his father. So it's this sort of father-son relationship and coming-of-age story for this young boy, and just a really great overall adventure, action adventure. And next I have a kind of climactic apocalypse. This is called Geo Story. It stars Gerard Butler. There's even Ed Harris and Andy Garcia. Gerard Butler, sort of this headstrong scientist who helped develop this satellite network that the countries around the world have gotten together to build this satellite thing that would control the weather and kind of prevent these huge, devastating storms from taking place. But then things go wrong with this system, and even though he was kind of dismissed because of his refusal kind of go along with what the governments wanted him to do, he was too headstrong. He was kind of kicked out of the program, and now he's brought back to try and solve the problem. And it might be beyond just what the system failure. It might be an external failure, but it's really intriguing, and the effects of it were super cool. And I like the actors in it too. I thought they did a really good job. Moving on from that, I have an old-time classic, an old-time favorite. This is Planet of the Apes. This is the Legacy Collection because it has all 5 movies in it. I haven't seen the last 3 in quite some time, but the first 2 I've seen over and over again. Stars Charlton Heston. He plays one of the 3 astronauts that crash land on this planet. They've been in hibernation sleep for some time and don't even realize quite how long it's been. But this planet they land on seems, you know, something that can sustain human life. They're able to breathe on the planet, and they set off on a journey to kind of explore it, and come to find a civilization does exist, very human-like, but the humans on here are more the wild creatures, whereas apes are running the planet, talking apes. And yeah, it was just absolutely fantastic. Roddy McDowall plays one of the chimps. Love his character, and really enjoyed these. They're just old-time classic ones, but they've since kind of revamped that whole series. That's based on a novel, Peter Bolle, I think his name is. I've never actually read it. I would like to someday read it. If anybody has read it, let me know down below what you thought of it and how you thought of it in comparison to this. If it's worth reading, I'm just curious. But they have, like I said, revamped the series, a lot more interesting effects and everything to it. And the first one of that is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Then there's Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And there's also War of the Planet of the Apes, which I don't have a copy of, but also really, really great. Much more, like I said, special effects going on it and everything. Just fantastic job. This stars James Franco. He has raised this chimp named Caesar. Through some kind of experiment that he was doing, this chimp has kind of developed human intelligence and human emotions. And something goes wrong where then he is sort of locked up and resents that, of course, and starts kind of raising the simian army, and that's where the whole series sort of takes off. Next up we have a classic zombie apocalypse. This is based on a graphic novel by Robert Kirkman, and this is The Walking Dead. This is the first of several series that are out. I think they did a fantastic job. They do divert a bit from the graphic novel. There are characters still living in here that aren't in the book. They created characters that never existed. And some have actually died that are still living in the graphic novel. But I think it's great. Either one is worth either reading or watching, or you could do both and still get enough out of each one. And just seeing the visual effects, like I said, are just fantastic in these. Another zombie one I have is Brad Pitt's World War Z. This is based on, was it Matthew Brooks? I think it's Matthew Brooks' novel. I've never actually read the book. It's based on like newspaper clippings and things like that that are put together. I hear it's very good. I would like to pick it up someday, but I got this mainly because when I saw the way the zombies move in this, I'm like, I have to see this. And they move almost like a swarm of bees, and they're so fast compared to the shambling creatures in The Walking Dead or any other zombie I've ever seen. This is so much different, I think, in that effect. And he plays this former United Nations investigator who's out trying to find a cure to this virus that's going on. And it's been a while since I've watched it, so I need to kind of pick it up again and take another look. Then I have another Will Smith movie called I Am Legend, loosely based on the Richard Matheson novel, which I really enjoyed. He may be the last man in New York City. It's been evacuated because some kind of unstoppable, seemingly uncurable plague has swept through the city. Those that didn't seem to be affected were evacuated. Those that have been affected have hopefully been contained to the city. He seems to be the last one there who is not affected by it. He has some sort of natural immunity to it. And he's trying to find whatever antibodies within him to develop a cure. He is a military virologist who kind of goes out daily sending out communications to see if there's anybody still in the city who's not infected. But he also goes out to capture some of those that are, to kind of experiment on them and see if any of his cures are viable. Really great visual effects in this as well, just seeing this devastated New York City. Then I have a alien invasion apocalyptic movie. This is Arrival. Saw this one just fairly recently. This stars Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Forrest Whitaker. And these strange spaceships have kind of appeared all over the planet, and all the countries are trying to find ways to communicate with them, and the government has brought in her character because she's a linguist. She's helped with them on some other case before, and they figure that maybe her skills as a linguist will help them find some way to communicate and find out if they're hostile or not, what their reason is for being there, and I thought that was really intriguing. I thought that it was a fantastic job. Then I have one of sort of natural disaster. This is called The Core. This stars Hilary Swank, various other people. But what happened is there's something wrong with the center of Earth. The core has stopped spinning, and that'll have devastating effects to it, and they have to find a way to kind of generate and get it going again. And they have some sort of spaceship that they can bore into the planet, and they plan on shooting off a nuclear device in the center of the core to kind of get the planet moving again. I thought it was a super cool idea and really great visual effects. And yeah, there's that one. Then I have one that goes visual effects over the top, but still interesting, and that is 2012. We have John Cusack playing a writer who's kind of falling on hard times. He's divorced, a father of two, and finds himself sort of at the center of the world falling apart all around him. All sorts of disasters are happening, earthquakes and buildings falling, and he is trying to rescue his family and get him to a place of safety. He hears that there's been some kind of plan in place for some time some kind of location where humanity will be transported to that will keep them safe until things kind of calm back down again. And the visual effects were just nuts, you know, them flying this plane through buildings as they're falling. It was just nuts. Like I said, totally over the top, but it was so interesting. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Then you have a climactic one here. This is The Day After Tomorrow. This stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Dennis Quaid, Ian Holm. Dennis Quaid is a climatologist, so is Ian Holm, and they've been studying various things on the planet and start to see something horrific happening that could be like the next ice age, and it turns out to be real. It is actually going to happen, and it's imminent, and they're wondering how they can even save as many people as they can. His son, Jake, is a student who happens to be in New York City as this is all kind of coming down, and a big tidal wave sweeps through the city, and the wave coming through, the visual effect of that I thought was fantastic. He and some of his fellow students managed to find shelter in a library, hey, great place, and communicates with his father at the last minute, kind of telling him where he is, and then it's basically Dennis Quaid trying to make his way to New York City to try and see if his son and anybody else is still alive, if they'll be able to rescue anybody. And that visual image right there just says it all. It's fantastic. And a weird sort of coincidence, New York City, we have Cloverfield. This is, something has found us. Yes, there's something tearing apart New York City. You're at a party, and then they're up on a roof, and someone's filming this party for this guy, and suddenly you see explosions, and people rush down to the streets, and all of a sudden this goes sliding down the street. That effect in one of the trailers said, I've got to see this movie. It just, I knew right there I wanted to see this. And it has the same visual effects like if you watch the Blair Witch Project, where there's like a handheld camera, and it makes you feel like you are part of what's going on. And that's what made it so fantastic and so scary. And yeah, I really, really love this one. And the last two I have for you are on a comedy side of zombie movies. First up is Zombieland. This stars Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg is sort of a nerd-like character who you pretty much know wouldn't survive this kind of situation, except for the fact that he comes across Woody Harrelson. And all Woody Harrelson wants to do is find a Twinkie. It is absolutely hilarious, the situations they come in. Bill Murray makes kind of a appearance in it. I absolutely love just the craziness of it. And it's just made me want to eat a Twinkie too afterwards. This is Superbad meets Shaun of the Dead. I hear they're making a second one of this too, so I'll have to check that one out too. But mentioning Shaun of the Dead, that brings me to my final one. Just watched this one again recently. Absolutely loved it. It stars Simon Pegg, his buddy Nick Frost, who's in a lot of movies of his. Shaun and his buddy are roommates along with another guy. And these two, he's just a slob. I don't even know if he even had a job. He's always just messing up the place. The third roommate's just furious with him. Always a battle going on. But they're just a bit lazy. And that's his girlfriend, who's getting kind of fed up with him too. They always go to the Winchester, this pub in the area. He never goes out. They never go. His friend's always around with him. It's never just the two of them. Nothing romantic. Everything's just kind of coming down. His mom has remarried, and he does not like his stepdad, and he keeps saying, could you at least remember to bring her flowers? All this stuff happens, and you see this kind of situation happening the one day, and then the next day he's getting up to work. He's kind of following his same routine, going to the nearby store, picking up something, to drink or whatever, and go off to work, and he doesn't even realize this sort of apocalypse has happened around him, and there's people shambling down the road. He's just so oblivious. It's crazy. And then suddenly, the realization hits, and now he's trying to rescue his girlfriend and his mom, and the only place he can think to go to is the place he's been going to all the time, which is the Winchester, the pub. Maybe not the best decision, as you'll find out, but it's gory. It's a bit gruesome, but the humor kind of interspersed throughout it made me just really love it. So anyway, that is my collection of apocalyptic movies. If you have any to add to this list, or any others that you would like to recommend to me, or some that I may have missed or just don't have copies of, yeah, put them down below. Let me know what you guys have seen before and maybe what I should check out. And hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.